Alrighty, and we are live. Good morning, speed gaming fans. We've got an exciting pod race for you this morning between acE, our top runner and probably tournament favorite, and Dwy Guy, who seems to be maybe a bit of a dark horse. I am Nock. I'm joined by Mikey Berger. How are you this morning, Mikey?
Hi, I'm all right. I'm doing well, thank you. How are you doing, Nock?
I'm doing great. It's bright and early here, but I guess in your time zone it's a more reasonable time.
Yeah, it's definitely a very reasonable time for once for me. So it's barely 5 o'clock, so this is ideal, you know. Yeah, so very much looking forward to this. I take it they're still warming up at the moment, right?
No, both players have said they are ready, so I would go ahead and give them the countdown, and we should be off here.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to this match. I know that it's good to see Dwy Guy back as well because he's just a really solid. I know it's just a term we use a lot, but it's a very good term I think for describing Dwy Guy's playing style. He's a very, very solid player. You know, he really doesn't make many mistakes. You know, and his times are pretty good as well. So it'll be interesting to see if he can take any off acE today.
Yeah, acE did say he was worried that you can't sleep on Dwy Guy, who I'm told got actually quite far in last year's Galactic Circuit tournament without using the slide mechanic, which if any of you have played Mario Kart or any other racing game with a drift mechanic, it's that critical. So,
Yeah, I used to do that actually years ago as well. Before I right at the start, before I realised that using the slide was actually effective. I remember playing Mongaza Speedway, and I was trying to get an under 13-second lap with Ben with no slide, which if anyone's ever tried is rather difficult. So I do remember those days.
an unfortunate death there for Dwy Guy. It looked like he bounced off a rock into another rock. Got a little off the line there, unfortunately.
I guess that's my fault for cursing him there.
So that puts acE just slightly ahead. Now, while acE is probably the favorite for this match, any track that Dwy Guy can take off of him is really, really good for him.
Yeah, definitely true. Yeah, that was definitely a commentator's curse, I'm afraid. Sorry about that.
All right, and they are coming through to the end of their final laps. acE on very high heat. He's done a good job of managing that the whole way through. It can be a little difficult to make sure you're on max heat as you come through the finish line.
Yeah, definitely a very important concept for this game. I mean, obviously on some tracks it's not even possible, is it? I mean, like Gravine Gateway, for example. But yeah, on these sort of tracks, definitely a good idea. And that's a very nice time from acE. Unfortunate death from Dwy Guy.
Okay, acE bans Executioner and Howler Gorge, and Dwy Guy bans Boonta Eve Classic and Grapevine Gateway.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Executioner either, personally. Um, How the Gorge is kind of a boring track, in my opinion. Buntareve Classic is a tough track. In fact, Buntareve Classic and Gravine Gateway are both very, very hard tracks. So, yeah, interesting bands.
Okay, and then for the first pod ban, Dwy Guy will ban Bull's Roar. acE will temporarily ban Zugga Challenge, and it looks like we're going to Ando Prime Centrum with no forces used by Dwy Guy.
Okay, so it should be another straightforward race then, really. Just, I imagine they'll probably both use Ben Quadinaros, who is the fastest pod for the majority of tracks, and certainly on Ando Prime Centrum. So, nothing too crazy for the moment. I expect that a lot of players are probably going to use the more complicated tactics later on in the double elimination phase of the tournament, which I noticed actually our screen is currently on the elimination background as well. So this is actually
Yeah,
we're actually in the group stage at the moment.
yes, it seemed like there was some weirdness with it got changed, but then got changed back. So it's not that different. It just should say group stage across the bottom there. Nice to see a big crowd for some pod racing and a familiar face. acE has been here for a lot of these matches, so nice to see you back.
Yeah, Ando Preem there. I mean, I like all the tracks actually from the Ando Preem, and I like this one particularly. It has a very technical section, just one very technical section really, with the switchback corner, which is actually in the same location as where the skip is. So there's no skips for this race.
Sync through and okay, they both know the correct route here. This is a little bit faster than going any other way.
Yeah, that section.
Dwy Guy having a little bit of trouble through that tunnel. Those turns are deceptively tight, but he makes it through without a death.
Yeah, he didn't crash, did he? But just lost quite a lot of speed there, so still lost some time. I see he has slide with him as well, slide parameter.
That's interesting. Sometimes you will see players choose to use a second AI to break rocks, though AI will actually break destructible objects in the track if there are any. But there should... Oh, there is the one little ice pillar in the middle tunnel here. I wonder if that's why he used it?
That could be true, actually. I've never considered that. I think it's normally you hit it, don't you, on the first lap, but I don't know if it's actually possible to go around that without actually not hitting it. Oh, slight scrape from acE through the hairpins.
And Dwy Guy taking actually a flashing red engine has to stop to repair.
Yeah, acE using the pillar jump, because obviously the top end of that section doesn't have collision. It looks like he's also using quite high traction and frame rate, because he's getting quite a lot of grip towards the ground over some of the bumps as well.
That does make sense for this track. There aren't a lot of super sharp hairpins that you'd need to swing around with a big slide.
Yeah, it's definitely a case of balance. Always with setups, I think.
Very clean tunnel for acE there. We'll see how Dwy Guy handles it.
Yeah, he does have some damage on his left engine, but I don't think it's too severe that it'd be a big problem.
Yeah, he should get through this lap pretty easily, assuming he doesn't crash, which is always a possibility in this game.
Yeah, he's a pretty safe player, I'd say. He doesn't really take too many risks. Yeah, acE coming in, nice time.
And Dwy Guy does come through with full heat, only about 7 seconds behind acE, so still a respectable time. And as with any track, it is difficult to make sure that your heat is full when you cross that finish line. Anything left in the tank is just speed left on the table. Okay, Dwy Guy banning Mars Glow, one of the safer pods and one of the better pods for a few skips. So acE bans Gauntlet, which is one of those skips Mars is good at. Dwy Guy takes this to Adobe Mountain Run, same planet, different track, and forces no Ben.
It's interesting, actually. Actually, one thing that is interesting there is the order in which he's banned the pods, because he's banned Mars first. So maybe, I don't know, perhaps it's almost like he was trying to, hide some information there with regards to what he was going to pick, make it a little bit more difficult for, acE to decide which tracks to ban, possibly. It's an interesting strategy.
That was something that I had thought about, banning Wan Sandage to trick people into thinking I'm going to pick a skip and then getting whatever track I want. Looks like Dwy Guy's going with Bullseye Navwar here.
Yeah, Bullseye's actually pretty good here. I tested a lot of pods on this track, and I was surprised actually what times Bullseye could do. I think just because of the canyon section, he's just so unbelievably quick there. But I'm pretty sure that acE will go with Bulls, I would think.
Yes, I would imagine acE is confident enough to use Bull's Roar, who is almost as fast as Ben, but significantly harder to use.
Again, we see Dwy Guy still has an AI with him in that of Mahonic, so that whenever you have one AI, it's always the track favorite. So in this case, we've got Mahonic. Yeah, I think kind of crazy to see anyone actually do skips on this track, knowing how unreliable and volatile those are.
Yes, and on this track, the skip is not an auto win. It doesn't save that much time.
Yeah, you have to race really well as well for it to be worthwhile. Yeah.
Whereas obviously something like Gauntlet or Abyss, where you're skipping 80–90% of the track.
Yeah, well, we obviously had that very interesting match the other day where we saw the. Trying to remember who it was. It was Nacho, and it was who was he playing?
If you were talking about the catastrophic Gauntlet skips, that was me.
Oh, was it you, Knock? Yeah, that was. I tell you what, I felt so bad for you on that final lap because that could have been anybody's race, but yeah, that race was. I mean, it did save enough time. Just even despite all the failed attempts at the skips, he still managed to save enough time for it to actually have been worthwhile to do the skips. So, yeah, skips they definitely some of them. Yeah, as you say, some of them cut off a lot more track than others, and some of them are a lot more dangerous and unpredictable, and some are relatively straightforward.
I think this is the actual attempt, but acE has not switched his OBS scene back to his game.
Oh, I see. I guess he has control of that, so he won't be able to do that now, presumably, if he's racing.
No, I don't think there's anything we can do from our end here. That's unfortunate.
Oh well, we'll see how Dwy Guy gets on. Looks like he's done pretty well so far. I haven't noticed him having any crashes, and he's racing pretty solidly overall. No notable errors. He's underheating a little bit, but nothing terrible. Goes for the long jump over the downhill section.
Yeah, he seems to be handling this pretty well. Obviously, Bullseye Navor is probably the most handleable pod in the game. Very, very fast turning rate and good traction to boot.
Yeah. Yes, Axel. We think that acE has just forgotten to change over his stream. That's all, unfortunately. So we're not actually seeing how acE is doing. See how
I went into actually his Twitch chat to let him know, but I don't know if he can change it mid-race. You can't really even look away from this game for a fraction of a second.
Yeah, probably I'd guess he would just show proof of his race through by sending through his own Twitch video or something, I imagine.
Well, on his Twitch stream, though, it's still locked into this screen. That's what we're drawing from.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure how the rules would have us handle this. If you can show his ending time, then that would be one thing.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I'm not part of the rules committee this year, so it's yeah. Yeah, nice canyon section from Dwy Guy. Very respectable time with Bullseye there. Oh, so acE is saying he got a 405.437. That's very close, actually.
Yeah, I am just not sure how the rules handle this. I'm not on the committee. We'll move on to the next race for now, and I will see if we can contact someone who is actually on the rules committee. I mean, personally, I'm inclined to believe acE that he put up whatever time he said he did.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's very believable. It's just not obviously optimal to have to do this, you know. But
acE is saying he should lose the track because he can't prove the time.
yeah, that would be fair actually. But
For now, I will update the tracker with new bans. So Dwy Guy is banning Bull's Roar again.
yeah, that's unfortunate for acE, really. I mean, I don't think we know which pod acE has used here, unless he said anything in chat.
Actually, so we talked about using Bulls, but that was actually banned, so he could not. Right? No, it was Mars Guo and Ben Quadranaris were banned, so it was probably Bulls. I would imagine it was Bulls.
Yeah, I would think so as well. To be honest, I'd be very surprised if he used any other pod there in that situation. Yeah, obviously that needs to be sort of decided at least for the moment because yeah, as we say, it's either going to be 3-0 or 2-1, depending on how that's interpreted, really. Okay, so well, acE is proposing that they redo the track. Evil Yoda, we had a bit of a confusion with regards to the previous track because acE accidentally covered his screen he was streaming on for this track, so we didn't actually see him race. So we've only have his word for it that he actually won that race.
Yeah, thank you everyone for bearing with us while we address this rules question. It's just a strange situation. This is the first year we're using this internal tracker. We thought it would be nice for the viewers to be able to see all the forces and pod bands as they come in.
Yeah, I guess it's just a natural thing to sort of forget about it and just do your racing. So
And yeah, acE is saying he feels it's fairest to call it 2-1. So we will call it that for now, which makes it Dwy Guy's win on that track.
yeah, unfortunate mistake really for Mace that.
Yeah, it is an unfortunate way to drop a track, right? To just forget to change the scene.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose like you say, it's understandable though because it's not something you would naturally think about, is it? I imagine so. But in any case, so it seems that we are starting the next track, and it looks like acE has banned Anakin's pod.
And Dwy Guy will ban Abyss. And acE with the nasty counter pick, Inferno forcing skips. This is a very difficult skip to perform, and it's one of those that skips 90% of the track.
Yeah, I can't say I was too keen on this skip. I practiced it for last year's tournament, and I just had mixed results. Basically, I remember sometimes I was doing it in like I forget what it is, something like 30 seconds, and other times it took me something like 10 minutes. I think I recorded once for one 3-lap attempt. So really, wide range of results. It's definitely not a guaranteed win, but obviously if it works, then you're gonna have the advantage. But yeah, I imagine they're both probably going to go with Wan Sandage here.
Looks like Mars Guo for acE, which is
Okay, maybe Mars is better. Actually, thinking about it, yeah. Some of them, Wan Sandage is the best. I think maybe this is one of the tracks where Mars is actually the best for the skips. So I guess that shows you how much I've practiced these.
yes, Juan is good for the wall climbing skips due to his hover height. He climbs the walls quite quickly. And to answer your question, Axel-san, that may have been just a throwaway ban, though Anakin is also a very safe pod on several tracks, which is probably why Dwy Guy then banned Abyss. He's not very fast, but his turning and traction are excellent.
Yeah, it's true. It's pretty terrible pod really in terms of performance. But it looks like acE here just missing the final lap. There's a little trick you can do there, but he's going to get the last one. I think. There we go. 26.694. And now we see such a big difference. So obviously in that case, everything went great for Ace. I think that's a really good time, actually, as far as I know, for that skip.
Yeah, that was blisteringly fast. No failed skips. As you said, he didn't get that extra fast final skip, which can do the lap in just about 2 or 3 seconds. But yep, an unfortunate knowledge gap here for Dwy Guy, not able to even attempt the skip.
Yeah, so we see just how much longer it takes him. It's taking him almost a minute to do a lap. But obviously, what we should probably mention, like when players are forcing skips, that doesn't, of course, mean that both players have to do them. It just means that either player is enabled to use any skips they wish for that track. You know, should they want to use them.
Interesting that Dwy Guy has gone with Bullseye for the full track of this. It should be several pods faster than Bullseye here.
Yeah,
None of them were banned.
I think he just feels that he can't utilize those faster pods. I mean, we can see actually even with Bullseye, he's underheating pretty badly here, so he's losing a lot of time because of that. So he's not crashing or anything, but he's just not really getting the most out of the pod here. So perhaps that's probably why he feels that like he would want a pod with stronger turning, so he's more likely to be able to boost in some sections, and therefore for him save the most time. At least that's my guess anyway. Using the shortest section for the final lap.
And there he is with a 2:40.892. Solid time for Bullseye full track.
Yeah, it's not blisteringly fast or anything, but yeah, it's definitely a very, very solid time. He's not, like I say, he's not making any mistakes really in terms of crashes or anything like that.
All right, Dwy Guy bans Bulls and Abyss from Ace. You notice both players banning the infamous Abyss track several times. It's not, in theory, the hardest track ever. No terribly difficult turns, but in the first section, there is a very narrow bit of track that you have to stay on, and if you fall off of it, you get sent to a penalty lap that is basically an automatic loss if you can't recover from it.
Yeah, I think that Abyss temporary ban from Ace is actually quite smart because it's probably the kind of track that Dwy Guy would do well on, I imagine, just because it's quite high risk. It's kind of one of those tracks where anybody could almost potentially win on Abyss, I would say, because I mean, like you say, you've only got to drop a few times on the penalty laps, and you can lose, a couple of minutes there quite easily. So
To answer MKaye, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, in chat, the best average speed next to Ben is Bull's Roar, which should mean that he also has the best boost next to Ben.
yeah, that's probably the best answer, actually. I mean, Mars has the longest boost, but yeah, he doesn't have the amount of extra speed that you gain from that boost is not as strong as Ben's or Bowles' pods. So yeah, Bowles is probably the best answer to that, I'd say.
Actually, I have Ace going with Mars for bumpies since Bulls and Ben are both banned. And Dwy Guy using Bullseye. These two pods actually have fairly similar average speeds, but as you said, Mikey, Mars's boost is quite a bit longer.
Yeah, Mars is just simply the better pick here, to be honest. Yeah, Bullseye's just I mean, Bullseye has better cooling, and the cooling aspect is very important for the average speed because it determines how much of the track you can essentially spend boosting, because that's what determines basically when you can boost is how hot the engines are. So if the engines are really, really hot, you basically can't boost because you just catch fire and then lose speed. So it means that with Bullseye, you have to use his cooling and boost a lot more frequently. You'll notice that, whereas Ace on Mars can just do one really, really long boost down some of the longer sections and basically doesn't have to re-accelerate each time he presses the boost button like Bullseye does. So it's definitely an advantage.
And we should be seeing the real run starting now, and players are warming up for a little to get familiarized with their pods.
Yeah, nice shortcut section from acE during the practice. Obviously, that is the one disadvantage with Mars. Is his wider pod means you're more likely to catch the walls there. So Bullseye's quite small and nimble, can fit through some of these gaps. So he's kind of a safer pick in that respect. And obviously, every time you take a crash, you're sort of losing an average of 5 seconds or so, depending on how much boost you've used up to that point. So obviously, if you've used a lot more boost already, then it's not so significant. But if the engines are totally cold, then you lose quite a lot of time on a death in that situation. Assuming that you're on a section where you can actually be boosting.
All right, they look fairly close right now, but acE just slightly ahead, as you were suspecting, able to leverage that longer boost. The benefit of having such a large boost, but with a slower cooling, is that you have more time in the gaps, where you have a bit more leeway.
Oh, acE going very safe through the shortcut. That was surprising.
Yeah, it looked like he got sort of pinballed off one wall into the other. Oh, and a crash from Dwy Guy in the hairpin there. That is a very sharp turn and very easy to over or undershoot.
Yeah, just turned in just slightly too early, unfortunately. Just smashed into the apex there. Yeah, I think players are definitely adjusting their strategy though. I think acE knows that Dwy Guy's a very solid player, so I think he's kind of adapting the same strategy and just trying to play faster, basically.
Yep, the more solid your fundamentals are on any given course, the more you can, as an underdog, force the other player to do risky things, and then hopefully capitalize on any crashes they take.
Yeah, I think a good strategy for underdog players in any given match is to try and pick stuff where those advantages are not so pronounced. So things where, there's more random elements. So a lot of the skips, for example, might be good options for those players.
Right. Though, of course, against acE, it's difficult to pick anything where he's not going to be able to out fundamental or out knowledge any other racer.
Oh yeah, definitely. I just think that that might be better than picking something like this, for example. Like Bumpy's a very long track where there's many places to screw up, and you can just you can't really outplay him on these kind of tracks, really.
True. There is a skip on Bumpy's Breakers, but I wonder if Dwy Guy knows any skips. Obviously, he mentioned in chat he didn't know the Inferno skip, which is why he didn't attempt it.
Yeah, a lot of these matches are definitely about knowing your opponent. I mean, there's quite a lot of strategy, particularly this year. I mean, there was a lot of strategy in it last year, but this year there's even more. So, a lot of the decision-making aspects of this game are very important, as well as actually just being able to play fast, basically.
Looking very solid through these back-to-back. They're not quite hairpins, but these switchbacks in that coast section, that can be pretty tricky to navigate properly, but they're handling it relatively well, getting decent lines. Final shortcut coming up for acE. We'll see how he gets through it. Turns off his engine for a sec there. Ooh, loses a bit of speed. Big scrape.
Yeah, it's almost like he's trying to play it almost too safe and ends up almost crashing in the process. But yeah, the damage isn't so significant because obviously they've got upgrades and they have upgraded repair functions, so it's not quite as harmful as on no upgrade runs.
Right, on no upgrades, it's often faster to just crash intentionally. Dwy Guy's third shortcut looks very clean there, and he's coming into the final stretch. Should at least be able to use all of the heat on this last boost. All
Yeah,
right. 447 for acE and a 504 for Dwy Guy. He's managing to put up, within 20 seconds of acE, which is no mean feat.
yeah, especially on a slower pod as well.
Still banning bulls, and then acE bans Abyss again.
Okay, so he's picking Bedos, which is, as Ace actually said, he's not too keen on that track.
Isn't Beato's Wild Red permabanned?
That's a good
No, it
question.
was Howler Gorge. I got
Yes, it's out of the gorge. Yeah.
confused on that. All of these tracks sort of end up running together since they share so much. They share so many elements, right? That if you watch or play this game for long enough, you start to notice many of the tracks reuse the starting areas or different locations.
Yeah, I quite like seeing the amateur circuit full tracks in tournament. They're quite fun.
Yeah, it's a fun circuit. It is perhaps more difficult than amateur circuit would imply.
Yeah, you've definitely got to take caution on the categorization of these tracks. Definitely. But, yeah, obviously for the tournament, I've just run for the rather legendary David Stubbs, who unfortunately has been extremely ill for the past year. Obviously, that tournament featured all the amateur tracks, so it's good to see some more. Just see how some of the other players get on these tracks.
That ice section you see Dwy Guy flying through on his warm up right now, that is truly brutal.
The ice field can certainly be tricky. And yeah, like it's been discussed already, is that it's kind of unusual to think how ice seems to have some very strange effects on your pod race on in this game. And acE nicely holding the boost all the way through the tunnel.
That is absurdly difficult to do. It's quite easy to crash into the walls there on a couple of the turns.
Yeah, it means he obviously saves some time as well because he's not underheating on the cave section.
And acE taking the more difficult path up to the shorter, sort of a shortcut, while Dwy Guy takes the safer path. I'll point it out again as we come to it at the end of the second lap, but there are several branching paths near the end of the lap, and one of them is much faster than the others. But it's quite difficult to take the fastest path to get to it.
I have to be honest, I'm quite surprised that acE isn't using the tent section because he's a very consistent player and obviously he's very, very skilled. I would think he would use that, but he's opting not to.
And to answer a question in chat, off-road does have an effect. You get a major speed penalty, but a lot of sections aren't actually off-road, even though they look like it. There's acE with that jump there. That is off-road, but boosting over it mitigates the speed penalty.
Yeah, when you become airborne, you don't have these unexplainable forces that slow your pod down, which are kind of like friction, but obviously they're not because your pods are not in contact with the ground, obviously.
Oh, crash at the tunnel entrance for Dwy Guy. And yeah, neither of them using the tunnel. Or the tent shortcut, rather. That tent shortcut's very difficult to enter, so I assume both of them are just trying to play it safe, make sure they don't make any undue mistakes, and drop the track.
Yeah, although personally for me, I would say even the route they're using, I wouldn't say is that much easier. I mean, particularly climbing onto that ledge, I personally find can be quite tricky.
Yes, climbing onto that ledge, there's a lot of ways you can get pinballed into rocks. The tunnel, though, has ice in it, which makes exiting it quite difficult, so must just be a risk calculation on their part.
Yeah. Very nice from Ace. 240.
And 249 from Dwy Guy.
Yeah, so kind of really as we'd expect. I mean, Dwy Guy just playing really solid times. Unfortunately, I mean he's playing Ace, so it's always going to be tough when you have to play a player in Ace's caliber.
Hello there, Dwy Guy.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you if you can hear us.
Yeah.
Yeah, some very close times there, especially that Betos time was.
Oh man, yeah, if I didn't crash, it probably would have been a little closer. But I don't think
Yeah,
I've
you-
ever beaten 240 anyway.
Yeah, as we were saying, really, it's always difficult when you have to compete against Ace. It's sort of something that no one really wants to have to do.
No, that's why I figured I'd get it out of the way first. Maybe I can expose some of Ace's weaker tracks. Who knows?
Yeah,
You did pretty well, though.
Thank you.
Slightly unfortunate issue for you, Ace, with your stream.
Yeah, I forgot to switch the scene again. It's a bit unlucky, but whatever. It's the only track I actually had a crash on, so it's kind of good that that doesn't go into the statistics, right? So technically, I had a crash last
Actually,
match now.
Oh, that's cool. I don't think we noticed that actually, but I don't recall seeing you crash, so that probably makes sense.
Yeah, I crashed on AMR once on the second lap 10th entry. But yeah, like, it's gonna be a did not start for me for that track, so technically I'm crashless.
What pod did you use for that?
Mahonic.
Mahonic, yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Oh, okay.
We were sort of
Track
surprised.
favorite.
Yeah, we thought you'd probably. Well, I certainly thought you'd have gone with bowls there.
Yeah, I really don't like bowls because of the canyon section. Technically, he's probably slightly faster than Mahonic, but I just figured, okay, I'll just go Mahonic, do a little bit of a fast canyon, and just be done with it.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, Mahonic is very good on Adobe Mountain Run.
Pretty sure he can do the canyon without braking at all, because his handling is almost as good as Mars. So I'm pretty sure he could do the canyon without braking. That's why I picked him.
Yeah, he can definitely. Yeah.
But it didn't matter in the end because I kind of messed it up a bit. So, public service announcement: if you use the spectator cheat, remember to switch your scene again back to your race. Definitely helps.
Yeah, that was one of our closer matches too, so it was sort of a bummer.
Yeah.
It's side by side.
Yeah. I assume you used Bullseye and had a clean run, right?
Yes, I did. I may have even PB'd on that one.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, that was a time.
I think there were only like 3 seconds difference. If my time had counted, but yeah, in the end, you kind of deserve the track win. I'm not salty or anything. It's all good.
Yeah,
It
that's
wasn't
good to
my
hear.
mistake in the end, so yeah.
Right. Yeah, something like that can really throw you off, but it looked like you were right back into it from the next track. That Inferno skips pick, of course, a very
Wasn't it
scary
mean?
counter pick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if I knew the skip, I don't think I could make that time. That was ridiculous.
I just picked that to like get a track and get it over with quickly, you know.
Yeah. That's a fast way to do it.
But yeah, I think overall your times were actually pretty impressive. I think Lightning should be a bit scared of you. I think if you practice a bit more and if you apply the well thought out strategy you used today against me, against Lightning as well, I think you could possibly beat him and maybe even get second in the group. So keep it up.
That's wishful thinking, but yeah, I'm gonna do my best against everyone else. This first time around, I was definitely nervous. I crashed a few times, more times than I would have liked, but I wasn't expecting to exactly take any tracks off of you anyway. So
Yeah, I'm just saying you had some pretty nice times. So
Yeah.
I think if you keep practicing, you.
yes, for sure, I will.
Yeah, you're a very solid player, Dwy Guy. It's always good to watch you race. You really don't make many mistakes at all.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been known for my consistency, but also I'm trying to learn how to slide a little more. So it's actually caused me to like crash a lot more too.
Yeah, it's just a case of adjustment, I think. But yeah, I personally didn't realize you never used slide until someone told me, basically.
Yeah, that may have been another mistake, is actually letting that be known publicly. Well, anyway, it was nice to race you again, Ace. Good luck in your
Yeah,
future
likewise.
matches.
But
Okay.
yeah, thank you, and thanks for racing today. It was fun.
Yeah, and thanks for commentating, guys.
Yeah, it was a fun show. And congratulations, Ace, on your win, and Dwy Guy on having a track.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thanks for a great match as always, and thanks for inviting me for commentary today. It was great to commentate with you, Nock.
Yeah, thank you for joining me. I was worried I was going to have to do this alone, but you're a fantastic co-commentator, and was glad to have you.
Well, thank you very much.
And thanks again, of course, to Speed Gaming for letting us host our tournament here for the 3rd year in a row. Unless anyone else has any final comments, I think we will call this a race and sign off. May the force be with all of you.
GG, see ya.